Hi everyone! I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. Recently, I was asked a question on Instagram, I believe. I'm not really exactly sure. I forget very quickly where these questions come from. But the question was amazing and extremely useful, I think, for all of us. So I decided to do a video on it. Here's the question. Could you do an episode on empathy and INFJs getting through this pandemic and the fallout after being crushed with so much that's going on around us? Real things such as job loss, income loss, future job insecurity, overdue bills, etc., and the physical impact of the stress and anxiety, and ideas or guidance to climb out of the fog. So obviously there's a lot of questions in here, a lot of things going on. I don't think I'll be able to answer all of it, but I'll do my level best to kind of get through what I think is a paramount thing to remember in this situation. Now, kind of looking at it from a spiritual perspective first, I just want to kind of delineate that this is not an attack against us. This is like what's going on in the world right now. It might seem like an attack against us, but it's actually not. It's kind of actually a lesson, and we really need to really need to stop running away from the lesson and to actually realize that if we don't take the lesson, the universe is going to do this to us over and over again until we actually get the lesson and we actually use it. So the lesson obviously is that we were living in a completely inconceivable and unsustainable fashion before. It's just not good for humanity in general, or the earth, or the universe in general. And a lot of people were miserable, unhappy, not liking their lives, not loving their families, not doing anything that was suitable or useful to them. But they were just going on with it because that's what everyone does. Get up in the morning and you go to work even if you hate it, or you live your life even you despise it. You stay with family or friends even if you don't like them. You keep on doing it because that's life. You're like, well, everyone else is doing it, right? But nowadays, not everyone else is doing it, right? Everyone is kind of sitting back and they have all this time to think about what's going on. Now, of course, so that's the lesson. Like, of course, we need to take that lesson. So that's the first point that I really want to make, is that again, this is not as if the universe is like striking against you to punish you somehow, to teach you a lesson or something like that. There is just, yes, to teach you a lesson, but not to punish you. They're not doing it for that, because it's important for us in our spiritual journey, in our evolution, to get the lesson in order for us to become better and better. Now, of course, if you're sitting there thinking, but I lost my job and like my life sucks, and like, really, what's the lesson here? Like, well, what am I supposed to learn from this? My life is miserable. I get it. I totally get it. Like, and I'm from speaking from a perspective of a person who is living at home and actually living a good life and all that stuff, is not affected that much by it, touch wood. I obviously have nothing to say about it. But I do wanted to say that, again, it's also a lesson in the fact that perhaps, and a lot of people that are kind of looking at their jobs and their lives thinking, well, this is not working out. And what if this happens again? If a second pandemic comes, or if something else happens, maybe this is time for you to start reevaluating your life and thinking about, okay, how can I make my life more sustainable? How can I reduce my expenses so I'm not spending so much money, so I can actually save up some money and have some money to go buy? Or how can I find a job perhaps that is online, or that is something that I don't have to go outside to do my work, so at least if something like this happens again, I can work from home? Or how can I move away from relying completely on my job and kind of perhaps making some passive income sources or things like that? Like, there's always, this time is a time for you to sit down and start thinking. Now, of course, I'm not saying that all of it has to be done right now, but as I said, it's a wake-up call for a lot of us to realize, oh, right, I'm not doing things perfectly right, and things can change at any moment, and the universe and the world is not stagnant. That's the main lesson, I think, that we really have to realize, is that we were thinking, oh, this is just going to go on forever and ever, but it's not. Global warming in itself is showing us that life is going to change very rapidly as soon as, if we keep on going on the path that we're going. And of course, this pandemic has shown us that we can't keep on going on this path, because we really have to make some changes. Otherwise, the whole world is going to go to shit, right? And so in general, I think each person has to take the time and to realize, okay, what can I do to make my life more sustainable, and make sure that if this kind of thing happens again, which it probably will, because there are predictions by many scientists and researchers that this is just the first of many pandemics. It's going to happen over and over again, just because we're living in such uncontrollable, unhygienic, overpopulated conditions that it's just not possible not for it not to happen again and again, right? And so it's just gonna go worse from here, get worse from here. People are still having babies, and there's still a lot of there's a lot of births and a lot of population growth, and so nothing is changing. People are still going on and on as if nothing's happening, which I'm actually really surprised by. I would not bring a baby into the world right now. But of course, I mean, that's just my opinion. So that, of course, is something that you have to think about as well. The other thing I do want to say about this is that if you are an empath or an HSP, again, one of the things that we do as an empath or as an HSP is that we hide from problems, because we think that we are not strong enough to handle it. We think that we're not brave enough to deal with it. We don't think that we are capable enough of dealing with it, right? So we don't think our shoulders are strong enough, our energy levels are strong enough, and we hide. We go into our bubbles, or we go into our rooms or caves, and we just don't come out again. We don't interact with anyone. We don't do anything. We just don't do anything to interact with the real world. Again, as I've said before, take the time if you need, obviously, to do self-care and to love yourself and to make sure that you're all right. Because, of course, if you're exhausted or burnt out, you're of no use to the world. But eventually, once you have taken care of yourself, it is our responsibility as human beings to go back into the world and to make sure that we're doing what we need to do and what we can do, what is our responsibility to do, what we're capable of doing in order to give back to the world, right? And so again, it is our responsibility. We can't just be like, all right, yeah, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take care of my own little corner and of my own people, and who cares what's going to happen to the rest of the world? It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. And so again, that's not the right attitude either. And again, that's the reason why the pandemic, I think, is such a great thing, because it affected everyone. It didn't just affect the poor people, although I'm sure it affected them more than the rich people. But everyone is capable of getting sick. Everyone has been kind of affected by this, right? And so it's kind of fascinating to me because it's, as I said, it's the great equalizer. It's not like, oh, only poor people over there in some country over there are getting sick, not here, so it's okay. This happens a lot when, like floods happen or hurricanes happen in Southeast Asia, or, tsunamis happen in Japan, or something happens in South America, like an earthquake. Oh, it's happening over there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to America, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to Europe, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to Australia or Canada, so it doesn't matter. But right now, all of these countries, all of these really rich, developed countries are being affected completely, utterly by this as well. So it's no longer a thing that they can be like, all right, yeah, I can just ignore it. It's just happening over there in China, or like it's just happening in India. It doesn't really matter to me. We can't do that anymore. And that's the brilliant thing about this thing, is that everyone is being equally affected by it. And so it's not like, all right, cool, yeah, we can just ignore global warming, or we can just ignore what's happening there because it doesn't affect me. And so again, as I said, every person has to take the perfect lesson for them from this pandemic and then work with it. You can't just ignore it and pretend like nothing's happened. A lot of people are like, yeah, when are we going to get back to normal? How can you even say that? Like, how can you pretend or even believe that everything's going to go back to normal soon and then nothing's going to change again? The world is all about change. The world is transformation. Like, transformation is a fact of life. If it's not the pandemic, it's going to be something else. If not something else, it's going to be something else other than that, right? So things are always changing, and we need to learn to kind of roll with the punches of it. And we have to realize that, especially now, as time goes on, and as I said, technology gets better and better, and the world keeps on changing faster and faster, it's not possible for us to just rest on our laurels anymore and just be like, all right, yeah, so I've set everything up, everything's cool, I never have to do anything ever again, I can just sit and Netflix and chill all the time, right? It's just not possible, because as I said, the accelerated rate of change is just going to accelerate further, right? It's just going to get more and more accelerated as time goes on. And we're not going to be able to sit and be like, all right, yeah, so now everything's done. Okay, cool, everything's fine. Now I can just sit and chillax and everything's okay, right? The other thing that I wanted to say about this is that take the time to take care of yourself. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that, all right, cool, so like I'm gonna just like work and stress myself out and not take care of myself. Please don't do that to yourself. Again, all of these lessons are there, but they're waiting for you. Yeah, you don't have to be like, all right, I have to figure everything out right now. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. A lot of people are like, well, I have to figure everything out right now. So they're freaking out because they're not able to do that, because it's not the time to do it right now. It is the time to really reflect and understand. And so you can't figure everything out right now. So you're going to stress yourself out if you think that way. take the time to reflect and understand what's going on in the world, understand yourself, understand your position in the world, understand what's going on with you exactly and what lessons you need to garner from the situation, and then use those lessons in order to change your life over time over the next few years. Make sure that you're able to say that, yes, I did get something out of some lesson out of the pandemic. It's not something that should just be like, well, it happened and I ignored it and I hid in my corner or my bubble and I didn't do anything with it, and then I'm back to where I was before. I haven't changed anything at all. I'm in exactly the same spot. And if it happens again, I'm going to be like, what? How is it happening again? And so it's like people are like, yeah, but like we're not going to learn from history. We're just going to repeat our mistakes over and over again. Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves, right? I mean, pandemics have happened before as well. And they, as I said, keep on happening based on the predictions of researchers and scientists, unless we do something major to change things. Unfortunately, as you probably know, a lot of us are not going to take the lessons and we're not going to learn from it. And we're just going to keep on doing the same thing. And it's going to happen again. And we're all, again, going to be mystified and surprised by the fact that it's happened. And we're going to sit here thinking, but what happened? How did it happen? I can't believe this has happened. How can you not believe it? Like, come on, look at the world and the state of the world, right? So again, take care of yourself. Make sure that you do proper self-care. Make sure that you give yourself the love that's necessary right now, because of course, we are all dealing with a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative states, a lot of negative news. But again, do not pretend like this is just a one-off situation that you can just ignore, and once it passes, it's passed and it's done and you're over with, and you can just ignore everything and just go on and live your life as if nothing has happened, because that's not the case. And if you do that, this is going to bite you in the ass in the future, because it's going to happen again and you're going to be like, but what happened? And it's just going to be the same thing, because the universe is going to give you the lesson, and it's going to try and give you the lesson over and over again until you get the lesson. If you don't get the lesson, the universe is going to be like, all right, cool, so I guess you're going to be stubborn about this. I'm going to give you the lesson again. And it's going to try over and over and over again. So either you learn or you regret in the future, because you're going to have to learn it eventually, right? Now, again, I'm saying all this not because I want to hurt someone or be negative in any way or to push someone's limits or boundaries or buttons. I'm not doing this because I'm like, oh, like this is something that I'm better off than you. That's why I can see these things. That's not the case at all. I think it's really important for us to realize these things, because if we don't, as I said, it's going to come over and over and over again and happen over and over again. The world is changing very rapidly, and we are not changing along with it. We're pretending like everything's going to stay the same. It's not. It's not going to stay the same. And we have to realize that and run along with it, move along with it, right? I hope this was a good enough answer for you. If I didn't answer your question and you think that if this is a completely bogus answer, then please do let me know, and please let me know so I can perhaps tweak it a bit or maybe answer your question properly, okay? Again, if you guys have anything to add to this, or if you have any questions or comments, please obviously comment below, and I'm always going to read and listen. Thank you so much for watching, for being on my channel and subscribing. I really appreciate all your support, and I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.